Good afternoon and welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. It's been a couple of weeks since I've seen your smiling chats and faces, and so we're going to do another hashtag today. The hashtag today is going to be How Do You Tarot a VR2 Lady Knight of Avalon, and Maria's video is in the description box below. If you have not already liked and subscribed, please do so and visit my link tree where you will find all of the many ways to interact with me and keep young with me. One moment, I am having a technical difficulty with my computer. There we go. I just wanted to copy this for you. Boop. Share. All right. So basically, these are 10 questions about the tarot. Hello, Tarot Cat. And why wouldn't we have Tarot Cat here when we're talking about the tarot, right? She loves to be in the picture when we're talking about cards. If you've watched my IGs, you will have seen her many, many, many times. And since I'm in the living room trying to relax today, obviously it's her abode. So these are 10 questions, which I probably answered in other videos at different times, but I wanted to keep in touch with you guys and thought, hey, let me jump into this hashtag and maybe you'll hear something you haven't heard before. Or if you're new to the channel, you'll learn things for the first time. So what's been going on here for those of you who aren't friends with me on Facebook? I colored my hair. It was supposed to be teal, but it kind of looks electric blue in the front. When it dries, the most of it will look teal though, and it's what I was hoping for and looking forward to while I'm out of work to enjoy myself a little bit. And I'm going to switch glasses because these are smaller and we'll have less glare. There we go. Still glare, but less glare. All right. The first question is, what do you like about tarot? Well, I have always been a fan of art. In fact, I studied art in college. It was my first opportunity to study art because there was no art program in my school growing up, and I enjoyed it. And if I hadn't have decided to move into the tangent of ministry, I probably would have continued with my art career, specifically doing design for magazines and that type of thing, because I do love creating things very much. And tarot is, after all, artwork, imagery, and there is a lot of conversation about the art itself going on right now, particularly with the prevalence of AI now. And we're not going to chat about that today, but check out some of those chats. Particularly Cyril Marchetti has had some things to say about that, as well as Benabel Wynn. So I like that I can take a deck of cards and shuffle them. It's actually relaxing. If nothing else, that in itself is a wonderful way for me to like calm the F down, right? Just shuffling the cards. And maybe it's nervous habit, maybe it's getting rid of energy, whatever it is. But that in itself is a reason to love tarot. And this kind of falls into the second question as well. What do you use it for? And for me, tarot came into my life at a time when I was trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do with my life, similar to where I am now since I've left my old job. And I had left the ministry after 13 years and was trying to figure out what was next, was I still a Christian? What did I really believe? If the things that were true that led to me leaving the ministry, what else is not true or is true about me and the world I live in? And I found the tarot to be a great way to explore those questions, to actually look at who I am and what I truly desired, and move forward in my life. It was really self-therapy. And while it's no replacement for a licensed therapist, it can be helpful where you are unable to see a therapist, right? To actually ask yourself the deep questions. How often do we actually ask ourselves what we want in life? We normally spend most of our time doing the things, right? We have to take a shower in the morning, we have to get dressed, we have to do a job to pay our bills, and we have to cook our meals, and we have to drive back and forth to work, or take kids to school, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's just so much have to do to survive that we don't get to look at ourselves, right? And see, okay, is this what I really want out of life? Is this what I need? And where I want to be headed? And so that's really the kinds of things that I use tarot for, is to explore my own subconscious and to figure out what I want in life. And I enjoy helping other people do that as well. So our third question is, what is your go-to workhorse deck, and the one that you can read with no matter what? So really, any deck that is Smith weight based, I can pick up and use it, and that's just the way it is. I mean, it could be any clone, it could be any artwork. If it has that similar imagery and concepts, then it is going to work for me. Um, Normally, I will work with the same deck for about 6 to 9 months at a time when I find one that really resonates with me, and get to know it and spend time with it. And most recently, that has been my deck, the Good Journeys Tarot, which I'm not going to go into further detail about because I've been sharing about it on Instagram nonstop. But I still, even though I'm working with that deck, trying to get it prepared for everybody, find myself going back over and over again to the out of hand. And the out of hand, the reason that I love it and that I work nonstop with it, and if I were grabbing a deck as I run out of my burning house, it would be this deck, um, is because I love that it gives you everyday scenarios that we all go through. And yet it also has all of the symbols and imagery that we know from the Smith Way, which makes it completely easily readable for me. And I like the focus on the hands, reminding us that we actually have to do. It's not enough to just pull cards and think the great thoughts and the nice plans that come up when we see the cards. We have to actually act. We have to do. And I like that reminder. I think this is probably going to be a deck that I will keep around for a long time. If I could only have a few of the decks that are in my collection, this would definitely be one of them. Some others for collecting purposes, but this one definitely for reading purposes, because I do really love this deck. Hi, Maria. Thank you for popping in and saying hello. Maybe one day we can actually do something together. That would be fun. Our next prompt is, what is for you personally, most difficult deck to work with, and why? Well, it's actually one of my newest decks, and it's because I haven't gotten to know it yet. And that is the Darkwood Tarot. And it is a gorgeous deck. And the thing about this deck is that it is meant for shadow work. She actually says that. And when I first got it and I was flipping through the cards, as I will do, and I'll talk more about that in question 10, there were some things that really bugged me. Like, here is our Six of Swords. Usually our Six of Swords, we see two people being ferried across the water by another, moving from troubled waters to more still waters. And in this particular card, this woman is actually stealing a baby from the other woman. And I read the entry for it, and it totally makes sense. It's just an added layer, that shadow part that we don't get with the Smith weight necessarily, because we see, three characters there. We assume that they could possibly be a family, but there is the possibility that the woman and child are being taken away and leaving behind someone else, right? And so it really gives you a different perspective on this particular card. And so I'm really looking forward to digging into this deck. That actually goes to question 5, which are deck or decks that you want to study more in depth. Would be this one, because this is a gorgeous deck. I love the artwork. It does a great job of including people and animals throughout the deck. So it's not really an animal deck, but there's a lot of nature in there, which I find beautiful. This is one of my favorites, where the fox is bringing a bunny to the other fox there in the woods. I love the pentacles, where the apples are being used as the pentacles. That's just gorgeous. That I love. I will tell you one of the things that really stuck out to me with this deck, and here's another card that kind of disturbs me: the Four of Wands, which to me is a happy, wonderful, beautiful card. Um, Here, it almost looks like a troll under a bridge, and I haven't read the guidebook about it, but it just totally, to me, doesn't look like a celebratory card at all. I mean, it looks very much menacing to me. And so that's why I really need to study the deck. Here's a very sweet animal card. We see our little wolf family. And I am missing a card that I wanted to show you to talk about it. It's right here on top. So one of the things that finally connected me with this deck a bit and made me want to work with it more is these two cards. I happen to see them next to one another. This is the sun and the moon. And if you look, they almost mirror one another, where they have two pillars on either side. And then the woman in the center, they're shining in the sky. And this idea that, to me, the light's the same, whether it is what time of day it is, right? The light is the same. And so even in this dark deck, I think the teachings of the tarot will come through, right? And they're going to be meaningful, and they're going to help us understand ourselves better, particularly that shadow side, as Sasha talks about in her guidebook. I will say the one thing that bugs me about this deck is that, given that it's come out so recently, is that it is completely body beautiful. They're not people of different shapes and sizes. They are all very fit people. And it is very heteronormative in its depiction. And so I would like to see more modern decks actually be more inclusive. They can be as beautiful as, the most famous painting in the world that, the most people possibly love. But if they can't relate to everyone, I still have a little bit of an issue with that. So definitely will love working with this. Probably not one that I will pull out a lot, because it doesn't have some of the things that I really want in a deck. But I definitely look forward to working with it and learning more about the shadow and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, totally, Jen. The Santa Morte definitely makes me question a lot of cards. One of the reasons for that is that it's actually kind of its own system. It's not specifically Smith-Waite based, and it has a lot more to do with numerology, which and their choice of numerological associations didn't really work with me. So some of the cards didn't resonate, but it's one that you definitely would have to study more. And that's what I realized when I did my What's So Great About the Santa Morte video with Tarot Stash and Amy from Strength Reverse. It just requires some learning, which is what this one's going to do. And I may grow to love it more and more the longer that I study it. What is your preferred deck art style, and has it changed over the years? Well, it's always been the same, and there is a perfect example of it upstairs. Somehow my camera has gotten moved. I was centered. My camera does this thing. It's on the new computer that it follows me, and so it keeps getting off center. Bugs me, but probably not you. Just a little bit obsessive compulsive, am I? So the deck that I think of when I think of the type of artwork that really works for me is the This Might Hurt Tarot. I like clean lines, fields of color. I, I I want to be able to make out all of the shapes and the symbols and everything that's in the cards. And I don't want to have to find the trees for the forest, right? There's some artwork that is completely gorgeous, but it's so full of imagery that I can't pick out things, right? It's just too much detail for me. And maybe that has to do with these things, or maybe it's just a personal preference, but I've always loved more simple things. I much prefer the animation style of like Steven Universe or the show that I'm watching right now to like these ultra realistic animations a lot of times because they get so much detail in there that I'm like, okay, I can't really tell what's going on. And that's possibly just as much about my personal experience with being able to see than anything else. And I wish I'd remembered to bring the This Might Hurt back so I could show you because it is gorgeous. It has distinct lines, right? But then they're filled in with beautiful colors and they're kept pretty simple. So you actually can make out everything in them. And if you haven't seen that deck, look back at any of my videos or on Instagram for This Might Hurt, or just Google This Might Hurt and you'll see it. It's now available as a mass market edition as well. What question would you never ask the tarot? So this is going to be different depending on whether we're talking about me reading for myself or me reading for other people. I don't mind asking the tarot anything for myself, okay, because I know what things to take seriously and what things to take as with a grain of salt, right? There are readings that I do for fun and entertainment, and there are readings that I do to dive into my subconscious. I am not a person who specifically reads as a fortune teller, right? And to predict the future. I do it to figure out who I am and where I need to be headed, right? And I can make good decisions in life. And work through those things that I need to work through. For other people, there are things that I don't like to answer about. Like there are always those medical questions, those financial questions, those things that you should consult experts about, right? And so you try not to answer those in a way that are going to imply you are giving advice about that issue, legal issues or financial issues, those kinds of things. Can I tell you what's going through your mind and some things you should consider? Absolutely. Am I going to tell you how it's going to turn out or what you should do? Absolutely not. But for myself, I would read about anything. I just have to know what to interpret well and what to take with a grain of salt. Hello, Tarot Cat. Come down here. Oh, my goodness. She likes to get right in front of the camera, wherever the camera is pointed, right? All right. Our next question 8 is when you read for yourself, what do you look for? What kinds of questions do you ask? So I've kind of answered this several times, right? I do tend to ask about, you know, decision-making things, right? Or what I need to know about situations when I'm confused or I'm stressed out, particularly, because that normally will help me calm down. Just the shuffling of the cards is enough to calm me down, but then drawing the cards and taking a look at them realistically and saying, okay, all right, I get it. This is what's happening. I just need to calm the F down and move forward, right? And when I'm reading the cards, I will look at different things. Like I will think about their meaning. I will think about the cards that are there as well as the cards that are not there, right? Because Sometimes the elements that are missing in a reading are as important as the elements that are present. And I like to look at elements in the cards when I'm looking at them. I also pay attention to how many are court cards, major arcana, the suits, that kind of thing, to see, what is missing and what I should add to my life in order to fix the situation that's on the table, right? That type of thing. Question 9. After all the things you've learned about the tarot, is there something else about tarot you want to study, research, or learn? So I actually have already said the first thing I'm going to do after I get the deck out and I finish all of the projects I'm currently working on is I want to explore astrology more. While I know the associations of the cards, or at least I have them written down on my cards, I don't remember enough about astrology specifically to say, okay, this is the moon in Leo. What does that mean? And that's the kind of thing that I want to study next, probably from one of the many books now out about the deacons that I'll probably explore, as well as an astrology course I have somewhere sitting from Benabel Wind that I'll probably look at as well, just to understand the meanings of the different planets and the different star zodiacs, right? I have a general idea, but I'd like to know those things better and how they relate to the cards. Most recently, I actually studied the Hebrew alphabet and the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah with a group for the last 2 years. And so now I need to move to the new thing, right? And absolutely a deep, complicated hole, kind of like the Kabbalah stuff that I just got through studying. So I'm going to wait until I have some free time to jump into that there. So the last question is, what advice would you give someone who's just starting to learn tarot? And this is actually part of a project that I've been working on. And the way that I think is most beneficial for you to learn the tarot is to actually look at the cards. What I did and what I think will work best is not to memorize keywords. Just forget about keywords for now. Okay. When you first start, find yourself a notebook, take out your cards, take each card one at a time, whether you do it as a daily card pull or you work through several at a time, or how you want to do them randomly or work through them from the Fool all the way to the King of Pentacles, or whatever order your cards are in. Take a card. I don't want to do that card because, oh, there we go. So take the card, look at the card. What in this card speaks to you? And what does it say? Start with your intuition. Jot those things down. What do you think what's most important for you in this image? So like I'm looking at this tree, and this tree is hugging that one apple, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we've got to keep our seeds safe, right? So that we can procreate, basically, right? And then write all of these things down, those images, the things that are important to you, and what it says to you. And then do one more thing. Now that you have an idea what you think this means, think of a moment in your life where that has happened, or that was relevant, right? What story from your life and your experience relates to what you were seeing in this card, right? Like for me, I immediately think right now about needing to save some money so that when you're out of work, you have some to survive for a while, because that's the experience I'm going through right now. And so I write all of that down, right? Then take out your guidebook. Then read what the author has to say about the card, right? Compare the things that come up in there with what you wrote from looking at the image. What is the same? What is different? Can you see the things that the author says in their guidebook, whatever key it might be to the tarot, in that image that you're looking at. Okay. That kind of personal exploration of the cards is going to help you connect with them better than trying to memorize keywords. And it's also going to help you to utilize your intuition more than using your logic when reading the tarot. And that's the way I approached tarot, and that's how I ended up with my own deck, is that I was studying the cards this way. And one day I looked at one of the cards and I said, oh my gosh, I know this exact moment in my life, and I need to put this on a piece of paper and remember it. And I can make a card of this. And I said, eventually, maybe I'll have all 78, right? And, it took me 2 years to realize I was never going to get all 78 if I didn't just focus and do them. And so that's the process that I went through of using those moments and those images to create my own deck. You don't have to create your own deck, but I think it's important that you go through the tarot one by one and you figure out when in your life would you see this, right? This Four of Pentacles, our Four of Pentacles is about the need to hold on to things, either in a positive or negative way. When have you felt that in your life? Do you have a picture in your head of that thing? Is it you as a child clutching your teddy bear so your brother doesn't get it? Is it you saving for a house, right? It could be anything, but I think that is the way that you're going to best connect with the tarot, because memorization isn't going to do it. You need to understand the cards, and I believe by relating them to your life personally, that you are going to relate to them better. All right, everybody. It has been a pleasure chatting with you today. I'll probably be back in 2 weeks. Oh, wait. Let's see. 2 weeks would be the 28th. Yep, 2 weeks. I have to calculate in my head because I have another trip coming up shortly. And so in 2 weeks, I'll be back with another hashtag so we can keep in touch and let you know what's going on here. Speaking of which, I didn't tell you what's been going on here. So I'll do that right now. I have been over on Instagram posting some Learn the Tarot post, which basically share information that I've been putting into the guidebook entries as I work on the book. And I've been doing 1 to 2 cards every day. So I have been diligently working, even though I'm not employed. I am doing a regular daily shift writing at my desk. And in addition to the guidebook, I've also started working on an oracle deck, which I'm not going to share more about than to say I've been working on it, because I've been wanting to do that forever. And like the tarot deck, I knew it wasn't going to happen unless I just did it. And so I'm working on both of those. I get bored with one, I start working on the other one, and keep myself busy. All right, guys, until next time, good journeys.